Disclaimer, classes in Trove are built very much the same, so if you have watched any of my other build guides, then there is quite a lot of things that will repeat itself, but you can bypass those parts by the timestamps in the description. Also, my guides are always updated, so if I was to stop doing YouTube, all those guides would go away. No misinformation will be out there, and I will always update my videos / guides if something major happens to the game content. If something minor changes, it will be in the description. Hello guys, Wahoo here, back on another video. This time around we are doing a build guide for
BOOMERANGER.
Yeah, so the intro is going to be very much the same as if you've seen it before. You can skip ahead to maybe the demo or something else. But yes, the intro is going to be different just with which class we are going to do. Basically just telling you, if this is your first time watching one of these build guides, what you can expect from the video. So as you can see right here, I did make it into chapters, also indicated by timestamps, which is in the description or on the video. And first we are going to start with a 5-minute demo, just showcasing the class, what abilities do it have. Kind of just showing off, not going into detail what they basically do, but just showing them off, and maybe that will interest you at making one of these classes one of your mains. After that, we are going to do a quick look at overall stats for every single class. So for this class that you're watching right here, we're going to do it for that one, and also in general we are going to talk about stats. For example, like crit hit and crit damage. That's going to be some generalization right there. And then we are going to move into gear and everything there's on the gear page. That is, of course, banners, allies, head, face, weapon, and also rings and food, emblems, flasks, so on. So everything there is in the gear page, we are going to go over that one as well. Then we are going to cover gems. Mostly we're going to cover the empowered gems, of course. We're also going to talk a little bit about the smaller ones, but mostly we are going to go into the big empowered ones, or the big gems, that is. And then for lastly, of course, as you can see right here on the screen, we're also going to talk about the star chart, or the talent tree, as I basically call it. So that's what the intro was all about, just letting you know what the chapters are and how it is going to work with the timestamp. So you can skip ahead if there's something you already watched. You can skip ahead to doing that, or you can basically watch it all if you feel like you want to do that. But that was the intro. Now we can jump into the demo. All right, let's take a deeper dive into the Boomeranger. Yes, let's take a deeper dive into the Boomeranger. So before we just kind of get started on all of this, the Boomeranger is a little bit special in the sense that it can both be ranged and it can also be melee. So you can choose what you want to. It basically builds those, it builds this exactly the same way, but it does act a little bit different. So you do have to play around with that with yourself. Either, you know, use a melee weapon or use yourself a bow. It's also pretty funny because when you are farming with the boomer, you can also have bows that are gonna drop and also melee weapons, swords basically. Those can drop for this class. Usually when you have all the other classes, for example Draculite, when you farm for that, there's only gonna be staffs that drops for that one. So, but if you are basically wanting to have some a bunch of bows lying around, you know, Crystal 3, Crystal 4 bows, Crystal 5 in the future, you can have that with this one and also have melee weapons at the same time. So when you do open those chests, for example, when you are doing delves, for example, you get to that, you know, Crystal 4 chest in the end, you can both receive, you know, bows and also melee weapons, just saying. So just keep that in mind when you are, because if you are, hey, yes, we got a, you know, Crystal 4, finally you got a Crystal 4 weapon and it's a, you know, a bow and you wanted a, you know, a melee weapon, yeah, that's kind of the role you do. But if you do want that, of course, you can always change to another class that only uses, for example, the knight only uses swords. So if you want a sword for your boomer, you can just do it on your knight and you will only have a chance of getting that. But if you want a chance of getting either, if you don't really mind if it's going to be a bow or going to be a melee weapon, you can do so with the boomer. That's a little special for this one as well. You can also see the icon here. It has a bow equipped, but it also has a sword here on the back there. That's kind of indication, but it's both physical damage, so there's nothing to change with that. So both physical. And I would say that the boomer is maybe a little bit better at farming than it is for bossing. It can be a great boss character as well. I have seen people do that, but there's of course other classes that outshine it in the tier list that I've made so long ago actually, but it still is up to date. But you can use it. I would again use it mostly for farming, but that is just my take on it. So let's talk a little bit about the ability and the wall of text that is going to show up right here when I do this. And I don't expect you guys to read this. You can of course read this yourself if you actually, you know, go to the class itself, and you can read this and it's going to say all of this as well if you want to read that. But basically all it comes down to is that every third either bow attack or a melee attack, a sword attack, you are going to do extra damage or do a special basic kind of deal. So if you see here, I should actually have a bow equipped as well so you could see it, but you can see that by equipping one as well. But basically, as you can see here, you can see it does that little swing there, and you can't really see you can see the tornadoes. They're very, very small. But when you have a melee weapon equipped and you hit that third one, you want to get to the third attack as quick as possible, and it will make that little tornado there around you. It might be a little bit hard to see, and maybe if I zoom in a little bit more and I stop, you can see there's some particles right there, and that's what it does on the melee attack. I just went melee. I just kind of like the melee because I have so many ranged. I feel like there's so many ranged characters, and I just kind of wanted to go melee. Also, before the update for the boomer, the melee was better than range was, and so I just kept that as it. But you know, maybe you would fancy the bow attacks a little bit more, but it does fire the fire rocket, yeah, the fire arrow and the ice arrow, and also the bomb arrow in that order as well. But you can read all that and you can test it out and see which playstyle you like the best, melee or a range for that. Doesn't really changes. The ability looks a little bit different, and it of course does different things when you have either one equipped. So you can really choose whatever one is not better than the other. That was before, like I said, but now it is a little bit, you know, maybe you could say that for farming, you can maybe go melee, and then for when you're doing bosses, you would go ranged. You could say that, but I haven't tested it out, but you can feel like what you want to do. If you don't have enough good gear, or you don't have a good weapon for, you know, ranged, maybe it's better to go melee for that center. But yeah, this is the boomerang, and that's what the boomerang does. Is basically when you you know, throw it out, you can see it goes out there and it damages enemies, and also reduces the cooldown. You can see the cooldown also on the things. You can actually throw it almost the same. If I move out of the way here, you can see it's still on cooldown down here. You can see the bar is going around there, and it resets, but it lowers the cooldown. I can say lower the cooldown on your different abilities as well. And for this one, it throws out some bombs. If you have the class gym equipped, it is going to spawn some chickens. And the last thing is, of course, your ultimate is just going to do a bunch of different weird things. I don't know what all the things are. They changed it and added a bunch of stuff and whatnot. It's all random, so you can't really trigger it in some specific way, but you just throw out this one. This is also where you can get your character to be huge. So suddenly if you see a boomer around that's pretty huge, then it's because he's just used the mysterious urn, and that's the ultimate. And you can do some funny things with that. So it's just about spamming all your abilities basically, so there's no really trick to it. But yeah, you definitely want the chickens. The chickens do very, very nice damage, but we'll talk about the class gem when we get to those as well. For your subclass, you can go with anyone you really want here. I chose the Knight just because the movement speed on your mount and also extra flask capacity is always really, really great. But what I said about you can go with anyone you really want is I would of course choose either the Knight or the Lunar Lancer if you do have those available. But if you don't have those available, it doesn't matter too much. You can go with whatever you have highest level or highest power rank. That is really up to you. And you can see, sure, this one down here, the Ice Age one, is going to give you 750 magic damage. That's not for you, of course, but maybe you want the shield, and maybe your Ice Age is just the highest level and the highest power rank you have compared to other ones. But if you can see right here, my Knight and my Lunar Lancer is about the same power rank. It has different thresholds like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and so forth. That's the the thresholds that you are going to get more movement speed for your mount. So level is tied into this one little text down here, and the power rank is tied into whatever it does right here. So yeah, the level of your character is this one. So if your character is level 1, I think it has to be level 10 actually, it's gonna probably give you 1 flask capacity. I can't really remember, but it's gonna be, that's tied into this one. So the third level 30 is 750, and so on and so on. The Solarian is also kind of a nice choice as well, but it's a little bit more expensive to come by, so I would rather go with the Knight or the Lunar Lancer. Those are much easier to come by and is equally as good, I would say. It's more of a playstyle, and I like the movement speed on my mount when I run around. I wish my Knight had that as well. So I don't really use the flask capacity that much, but the movement speed is just so very nice when running around, and also because I usually don't go that fast. So yeah, it's really nice for me. So for our gear or equipment, we do have our hat here. I went with Magic Find, but you do need the attack speed. The attack speed and critical damage is God tier on the Boomer, because you want to get to the third attack as fast as possible. That's what it's all about. You want to get this. You don't want to be like I don't know if I can even can I even use my abilities? I can't even use it when I have this one. So you can see how slow I am now, because I do have attack speed on these 2 items. So you can see I'm getting a little bit, it's not terrible, but I am getting, a bit slower towards that third attack that I want to, where it actually does do a lot of damage. And the same thing when you have the bow equipped. So you want to get critical damage and attack speed on all your gear. And also, of course, on your face, you can see I also went to a Magic Find here. You can also go, with some movement speed if you want to do so, but you are going to sacrifice that attack speed. And I'd rather, sacrifice movement speed than getting attack speed. But you can play around with that yourself. If you really want to go a little bit faster, you can switch it out for some attack speed. And maybe in the future, when we get more and more dragons added, that you're of course going to have stats, it is going to be some min-maxing there, where you are kind of hitting, as fast as possible, and then doing all the damage that you actually are supposed to, while getting to the third attack as fast as you need to do so. The only thing that is kind of also carved in stone is, of course, attack speed, physical damage, and magic damage on our face. I still wish that your hat could look the same. You can also go with some max health on this one if you don't want the Magic Find, but or stability is also kind of cool if you are melee. You don't get knocked back that much, but it doesn't do very much. But I would rather go some max health. But yeah, I wish we could get like magic damage or physical damage instead of where our Magic Find is right there. So for our ring, you want to go with a Crystal 4 ring. You want to go with the one physical damage. Of course, the third stat is everything you kind of want to go here. You can go jumps, you can go critical hit if you're not capped. And you can also go, as I did, magic find as well, but you can also go with the jumps. I would probably recommend going jumps if you are like in the in-game kind of thing, because you do have like 135 magic find is pretty nice, but your magic find is so high anyway. So yes, depending also again if you're using Patreon or not, that's of course doubled when you do have the magic find there. But that really depends on how much dragons you have. Maybe some of dragons give jumps, right? So if you have some of those jumps, it's really up to you. It really depends on how you basically put your character together. But at that point, you know which ones you really want to go for. But if you're not capped on critical hit, you can get critical hit on your ring. So you can look for that as well. For your banner, you want to get, of course, a crystal. I was about to say crystal 5. No, you want to get a banner from U10, of course. U10 banner, you want to get that one. And you want to get the one with the physical damage on it. You can go again here, you can actually get some movement speed because there's actually not many other options. But when you have the crafting bench, when you get to the crafting bench at the spawn area, you can kind of look which ones you want to go for. It really depends on, there's not a best in slot there. The only thing that's best in slot is that it's the U10 banner that's best in slot, and you want to pick the one that of course has the physical damage. That's no-brainer, I guess, in a way. But the other stats, you can really go with whatever you feel like you want to. If you want to go with, flash capacity, movement speed, whatever you want to go with, you can do so. It doesn't really matter too much. It's really up to what you think is best, or what you have on hand is also a choice. You can always deconstruct the banner and then you can remake it in something else. So you can actually, put that or delete the banner kind of, and then you can start over. You do have to get all the materials, but you keep the banner, so you can actually switch it actually from magic damage to physical damage if you want to do so. And then of course we got ourselves the ally, and the ally we go with Ernie. You can again go with some of these star charge ones. You can't really see them from my face, but there's some star charge ones here. I feel like they're a little bit hard to come by, but we really don't want like cooldown reduction. You do get a movement speed with this one, right? You also get some health back, but it really depends on what you're using for your cosmic gem, because I'm using the vampiric that heals me, so I don't really need that extra one, this one for example. But what we really want is the 25% physical damage. That's the one we really want. Of course you want the movement speed, that's also pretty nice, but this one is a little bit harder to come by. These with the paragons are super easy to come by. I always recommend people getting these, or like getting these, and these are super easy to come by, especially these Dell ones is like super easy to come by. And these are a little bit extra. You do have to have some, some max classes and stuff like that, and then get a few paragon levels and such, or participate in some events. You get some loops there to make some of these, and these I've had for a very long time, and these has actually still eluded me for getting through these ones as well. So you can see these are not earned yet. You can kind of see it around my webcam here that I haven't unlocked them yet. So we have to do that at some point. We're gonna do that. Maybe we'll do that at the end of the last of these videos, right? But yeah, these are, as long as you have, of course, the 400 light and the 25% magic damage, or physical damage, sorry, that's the one with magic damage. Yeah, you get one. The protector shield is pretty nice, actually. It's not, if this has movement speed as well, I would actually recommend this more than I would recommend this one, I'm pretty sure, but they would be very much the same. But if you can get a hand on this one, I would probably recommend this one. But if you have this one, don't really bother too much. Don't worry about it too much. Just have this one equipped, as I said right there. So let's talk about Flask. You can go Death Defying, as we've talked about in many other videos. But Death Defying is pretty awesome because it auto uses if you are going to die, and you can get it in the shop for in-game currency. So it's not really something you have to pay real money for. But if you want more Flask charges, you can go with some of the other ones. If you have a lot of crit hit, you can actually use this one as well. That of course crit hit to 100%. You can actually have a chance, but it's only a chance when you have that critical. Of course, all your hits is going to be crits if you have 100% or over, but it's not like a guaranteed every single time. It's not like, hey, you hit one time, you get back a charge. That would be insane. If that was it, this would be one of the ones I really recommend people using. But again, on the other hand, you also have to self-use this one. So with the Death Defying, it's going to auto-use. So if you were hit by something you were actually going to die off, this is going to save you. This one, of course, is not going to do so. And maybe you're not fast enough to hit that that one as well, but I will mention it anyways. Then of course we have the one with the magic find. So if you have enough magic find, you can get this one as well if you want to. There's also one that gives like extra the emblems, double effect on the if you have minions equipped. So if you do have this one, you know, if you have this on your you know, this one, it does, and you have an ally, sorry, if you have an ally equipped one of these down here, then you will you know, have double effect of that. So, but I don't really like the I really don't like those allies. I feel like they're a little bit clunky. I'd rather have some other stuff that I can control better. When I say control, people might be thinking, well, you're using the bountiful one that actually has a chance of not consuming. So that's still a chance. It's not guaranteed either, but I feel like I can control it. Like it's something that is going to benefit me more than some of the allies. And so I would go with Death Defying. And speaking about emblems, we always want to get the martial one, the martial or the arcane one. I've said it, I'm gonna say it in every single video. These are the absolutely best. To get them in the store, again for in-game currency, and these are just god tier, these two. So if you are a magic damage user, you use the arcane one. The other one is the martial emblem that you want to use if you are a physical damage character. You can use with the unwielding as well. That's sometimes actually in Luxion. You can get that sometimes there. You can also find it in the marketplace. Probably pretty expensive, but you can sometimes get it at Luxion. And this one gives you a brief invincibility shield, so you don't take damage, and that's kind of good if you are against something that's like rapidly hitting you and kind of triggering your death defying all the time. And then this will basically keep your shield, but if you don't have the shield on, it will rapidly use your potions and then you run out pretty quickly. So it can be a choice to do so, but I'm using the bountiful because again it has a chance of not consuming on auto use and also on your self use. And you have some of the allies as well if you want to use some of those, but I wouldn't really recommend them. If you have them, to use them, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's just that if you have a chance of getting some of the other emblems I'm speaking about, then you should definitely get those as well. And of course the Sure Strike one, have to mention the Sure Strike because that gives you 20% critical hit if you are not capped. And technically there is no cap to critical hit, but you don't benefit over a 100%, and we'll talk about that. I'll talk about stats before we hit into our gems. But if you are under 80%, this is going to benefit you very well if you have this one. It's a little bit expensive. You do buy it from the Wonder, you know, Trove of Wonders and stuff like that. Well, the fragments from the Trove of Wonders, and so it can be a little bit expensive, but it's also great for leveling new classes and stuff like that. Pop this one, get 20% extra critical hit. You know, you kind of get through those dungeons a little bit faster. But when you get over that 80%, it's going to diminish the effect of it, until it, of course, hits that 100%. And then, of course, it's completely unvalid to use this one as well. But you can play around with whatever you feel like. There's also trailblazing if you want to go a little bit faster, but that's really up to you what you want to do. It's really an open market for whatever you want to use on your second slot. The first slot is always going to be arcane or martial. That's always going to be the same. It is always going to be those two. There's no other chance to go with anything else. But as I said, we are going to talk about stats. And as we talked about in the beginning, we are a physical damage character. Either we're using bows or a sword. It's still physical damage. Doesn't change at all like that. Then we, of course, want to go with some movement speed if you have to, but we are looking at attack speed. That is what we want to get most of. Of course, the Boomer do not use any energy regen. So you can see here, I do have a base of 103. So I didn't talk about energy regen at all. That's also usually sometimes a stat people get on their rings, for example, or on their weapon, for example. But since you can see here, we have 0, that means, and we also have 0 max energy. So, you know, even having, you know, you get actually max energy for some of the dragons and such. Those actually do not benefit you, as you can see here, 0 as well. And yes, superstition is 0, but that's just because I don't have any of it. But it can get superstition, but that's a silly stat we shouldn't actually mention. But we're talking about energy regen. Don't get any energy regen at all. Like I said, again, I have 103 and a bonus, and that's still just 0 because it doesn't use energy regen at all. But you want to get, of course, some movement speed, some attack speed. That's what I mean, attack speed. And you can see here, I do not have any jumps on any of my gear, but I still have 61 jumps. And that's just because I have like every single dragon, and some of them get a lot of jumps as well. So I don't have jumps anywhere, but you just, when you start stacking those dragons, jumps are also going to stack up there as well. Critical hit, you can see I have a lot, too much, actually 40% too much critical hit because of my gems, and actually you can see I don't have anything on my gear, but I still have this much critical hit, and it's just because the gems just gives you so much critical hit to cap it out there. So, but you want to get as close to 100% as you can. Sometimes 99% is fine, but of course you want to be a little bit over than a little bit under. That's always a good rule, but it really depends if you're going to be 10% over, or you're going to be 1% over. Then it's always better for 1%. Yes, all your hits, it's not going to be crits, but at least you don't, you know, sacrifice something else for that 100%. But you want to be a little bit over if you can to get that critical hit. So yeah, you can still do a bunch of stuff with that. And then of course we got critical damage. We want to get as much as we can with that. And of course the same with light, get as much light as you can. So recapping, physical damage, get as much as you can of that. Attack speed, you can get as much as you want, but I wouldn't really go overboard with it. There's a few places you can't get it, but I would just get as much as you can in a way. But I wouldn't sacrifice physical damage. Physical damage. I wouldn't sacrifice that, or critical damage, or light, because light, critical damage, and physical damage, or magic damage, if you're that category, is always God tier. That's the best you can always get. Of course, until of course the first stat always critical hit to 100%. That is, of course, that's a God tier before you get to 100%, right? When you get to 100%, it's critical damage, it's light, and it's physical damage. Physical damage is always good, no matter what. You're always going to do that kind of damage, but when your crits hit is going to hit 100%, all your hits is going to be crits, and then it's all about the critical damage. The more critical damage you then get, you are just going to do even more damage with your physical damage as well. And the light is not insignificant. It's very important as well for the in-game stat is light. As much light you have, the more light you have, the more damage you are going to do to enemies that have dark, which is basically all the in-game. All right, let's move on to gems. And for gems, it really depends if you are melee or you are ranged, because I do not have one. I don't have one, but a pyro disc could be a very, very nice thing if you are melee. It can also be okay if you are ranged, but the thing is that you're not really going to be in, you know, close up to the enemies, but you are going to be a little ranged, right? But the movement speed from the pyro disc can still be nice for a ranged when you're playing ranged, but it's more beneficial if you are going melee, because then the pyro disc is going to do damage as well. It's not going to be it's not very much damage the pyro disc do, but it is a little bit extra, and also it's very nice for that movement speed, especially when you're not ranged, because then you want to get up close and you want to catch enemies as well. So one of these should be, depending again, it could be pyro disc, but the only thing you really want is of course your class gem, and then you want to get an explosive as well. The explosive is very nice as well. I don't have an explosive gem here. So the two that are like 100% necessary, and you can see I don't have this one as well, is of course your class gem to get those chickens. That does very, very nice damage. And then again, you could go with either not a stinging curse, I'm about to say, because this was a stinging curse, but you could go with the pyro disc and the explosive as the other two ones if you really want to go all out. You can see this one it actually doesn't, I don't think it actually works. I would actually love to see that. I don't think you can, if you just let this one, because this is, a projectile, right? Oh, I should have picked that one up. Give me 1 second. All right, we'll try again. You can see now it goes out there. Yeah, okay. So because this is technically, I would kind of assume it's a projectile, but we'll see. I actually feel like it actually goes a little bit faster. I actually feel like it actually goes a little bit faster when it goes out. Yeah, it does. It definitely does. So this one actually do work, that this one actually the boom goes out a little bit faster, and it would also work with the range. So this could actually be a nice option as well. This is just a random gem I actually put in because I had it, but this is actually kind of cool that it actually works with this. So I actually learned something new as well with you guys. Stinging Curse is always fine with damage over time, but you really don't need those long fights. So you could use this one if you don't have anything else. So but explosive and so maybe use this one and then explosive if you're ranged, or because melee you're gonna be right up in them, and then when you hit this one and you're gonna basically get it back right away, so you will get it as it is right there, right? So maybe this one is mostly for if you are going to range. But the most important one is of course our cosmic one, which either is gonna be the vampiric or it's going to be the Berserker, the Battle Berserker. And I would go with the Battle Berserker if you are bossing, and then Vampiric if you are farming mostly with this character here, because it does help with the movement speed, or sorry, not the movement speed, the attack speed, and also the light increase that the Berserker has. So, and you want to get that when you are fighting bosses, especially in Delve, and also in, of course, your 11, your 10, and so on. But if you're just farming, the Vampiric is going to be very nice, and it's going to do the job that you want. And again, as we talked about before, if you have the other ally, maybe you get your your health back that way. But this one, of course, every time you do crit, you are going to get some life back. So this is basically if the fight is a little bit longer, I guess that's it. But if you're one-shotting things and they're kind of hitting you a little bit, you get that 15% back, then, this wasn't really necessary. So either go with the Vampiric or going with the Berserker. That doesn't really matter too much, except if you are bossing, then I would definitely go with the Battler, because then the Vampiric is not going to heal you enough to do any kind of thing with that. So, and then you just want to get that attack speed, and you want to get your, and that doesn't matter if you're ranged or melee, but you want to get as much light as you can. That light boost is very, very important. So I think we covered everything as well. Of course, with the stats, we saw them right here. Get 100% critical hit. When you get that, get as much critical damage as you can, as much light as you can, get as much physical damage as well as you can. And don't forget your attack speed as well. Don't sleep on the attack speed, I guess. But yeah, that takes us through everything we want to know about the Boomer. But before that, we of course also has a star chart, which is coming up right here. Alright, so now we got the physical damage part. I don't know if you saw the magic damage one, but the physical damage one looks very much like the magic damage part, because this over here you got, of course, still the critical damage, which is a lot of great notes over here. You do have to spend 1 point right here, which gives some magic damage to get into here, which I think is a little silly, but that's just basically how it is. But there's a lot of great physical damage notes going through up here. There is a little bit of a note out here. I was kind of debating with myself if to get out here, because it is a lot of points again going out here. But it does give you 5% magic damage and physical damage. But yeah, it's not super great out here. And that's the same thing if you saw the magic damage part. The green ones means that they're okay notes out here, but you really don't want to go for them, because you can see there's many notes going in there, so it's not really necessary. You can see the other ones, the red ones are sort of like more clumped together, which means that they're just really, really great. And my idea with this was that you go through the magic damage part and then, or critical damage part, and then you can go for the physical damage part first, and then of course the the critical damage part, and then you can go either this way or this way down here. So these sort of the things I would definitely go for a physical damage character. Go through the physical damage, critical damage, and then out here with the light, there's a little bit of good light notes out here. Again, also kind of a nice note here. You don't have to go very far, but it gives a little bit of critical damage. But other than that, you don't want to go further through this. There's some nice flask notes, but yeah, flask is not like a permanent. I just feel like the permanent buffs are just a little bit better. Because it's going to give you all the time. So if you don't have any flash charges, it's not going to give you the same. So I'd rather go for some hard facts or hard stats, if you can say it like that. So yeah, this is the physical damage part. Again, you can pause the video if you want to see which ones you want to go for. Again, it's just my opinion on which ones you should at least be aware of. That's it for the video. Click the video on screen that's coming up right now. YouTube thinks you might like it. Also check out the description for all my ultimate guides that goes into more specific things in Trove. And also hit that like button, would help me out very, very much. Also consider subscribing. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.